Welcome to our podcast, designed for psychologists, therapists, and counselors who want to take their business online and live a soul-nourished and profitable life without compromise. If you want to know the secrets used by practitioners just like you to navigate the global e-learning market successfully, then you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Talib, chartered psychologist, business mentor, and your host, and welcome to the Abundant Practitioner podcast. So today I'm going to talk about my move to Ghana. I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about obedience. I'm talking about fear and faith, right? How do you feel the fear and move anyway? How do you recognize that there's a call on your life to do something next and feel like, oh my gosh, this is bigger than me. How is it possible to do that? And have all these internal excuses come up and then let it settle and move in obedience how you're meant to move, and how that relates to the Ghana move that I'm doing with my family, right? We've got 2 young children, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and my partner, and we're moving from the UK over to Ghana, right? But I feel this conversation is not just about relocation in the sense of freedom relocation and like the fact that we can make the decision quite quickly to be like, yeah, that's what needs to happen and we're gonna make that decision, right? It's more than location freedom. It's just about freedom in its entirety, and it's about alignment, being able to make those decisions to be in alignment with your mission, with your God-given mission, with your God-given directions, right? And that actually when you are in that space to move, when you're being asked to move, and I talk about move it, when I'm saying the word move, I mean more than just move country, maybe move and start the business, move and execute this new program, move and do the launch, move in whatever way, shape or form, right? It is going to have some levels of uncomfortability, right? You're going to feel stretched. You're going to come up with excuses of like, who am I to move? How can I move? Should I move now? What would happen with this and that and the next, right? But the reward on the other side is so much more, right? There's a beautiful reward, an earthly reward, heavenly reward, depending on your beliefs, right? But the reward of obedience is huge. And so it's recognizing actually, right, what is happening within you that you are being called to do, be, have, experience, move to, that you can feel it, know it, see it, right? That when you experience it, you know it. Yeah. Earlier someone was saying about moving home, and they moved into a space and were like, yeah, I'm here. And then they saw another space and was like, that's where I'm meant to be. That's where I'm meant to be. Right? Like the full body yes of like, that's where I'm meant to be. Yeah. That's what's happening. You might not even know the how. Likely, you probably don't know the how. So what happens when you have a full body yes of this is what I'm meant to do next? Right? Or maybe it's not a full body yes, but maybe it's a clear certainty because it's not a full body yes because the fear is overpowering it. But if you took fear away, it would be a full body yes. Right? So for example, if I go back 10 years, I was voice noting one of our clients in the business academy earlier, and I was sharing with them the story of me 10 years ago. 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago, right? I started my business. So 10 and a half years ago, I was in a job that was really not a great environment to be in. I was experiencing workplace bullying. It was very challenging, very tough. However, I knew that I was meant to start a business. I knew that. I didn't just know that in that moment either. I knew that before that, but I kept putting it off. It was like God was talking to me and I was like, well, yeah, I get it, but let me go and do my doctorate degree first. I get it, but let me work 10 years in a company and get more qualified and experienced first because I'm not quite sure, God, you know what you're talking about. So let me do it my way, right? And figure it out my way. And then I'll do it your way, right? How about that? Yeah. And, like it just kept coming up, coming up, coming up, right? And maybe within you, there's a whisper, right? Or maybe a real loud knowing that there's something else, something different, a move, a transition that's meant to happen. And it's not quite happening because all the delay tactics are coming up, your own internal delay tactics, right? Your own internal delay tactics. If I go back 10 years ago, I had so many internal delay tactics of it can't happen right now because I'm going through a divorce. It can't happen right now because I'm figuring out where to live. It can't happen right now because I haven't worked for X amount of years. Like I feel like I need another 10 years of experience. It can't happen right now. It can't happen right now because I don't know how to run a business. I've never run a business before. It can't happen right now because of X, Y, Z, right? Surely I need another qualification, even though I'm now up to doctorate level. It can't happen right now because, right? What is your it can't happen right now because? Yeah, that's a natural human reaction to have objections, right? Because you're stretching to another level that you haven't been on, and we're human. Yeah, so our humanness is going to show, right? And so that humanness is going to show, but it's what you do with it. Do you walk with that voice or do you walk with God's voice? Right? And so when for a while now, we've known as a family we want to move out of the UK. We've known that for a while we want to move out of the UK. We didn't know where, right? So it was curious, like, where are we moving to? Like, what's God talking to us about? Where would we even go? Like, we pondered on a few countries and stuff. But I just know when you know, like the next visible step will always be shown. Yeah, the next visible step will always be shown to you, right? And then it's about taking it. So in the next visible step, like when we went to Ghana, we was just like, oh my gosh, in love, like, wow, this is home. Like, thank you, amazing, wow. And everything, like steps started, the questions I had, steps would be revealed, the answers would be revealed, right? In terms of like, well, we need to find a school, like, or how would we educate our children? Maybe homeschooling, what would it look like? Steps were revealed, right? Where would we live? How does it all work? And there's like steps were revealed, right? But if you're open to seeing them, there was many years on my journey before I started a business, I wasn't open to seeing the answer. All I wanted to entertain was my own human flesh, my own thoughts around like, well, I don't know how to run a business. I need more qualifications. I'm going through a divorce. I don't know where I'm living. Excuse, 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 excuse. But God, but God, but God, but God, but God. Right? Excuse, 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 delay. Right? Now, everything will always be made better. You know what I mean? Like it's all good. Like, God is a great good, and that's a great God, and that's amazing, right? Like, however, like, wouldn't it be more amazing if I could just answer the call quicker, right? And trust more and have faith more. Faith is being able to lean into what you cannot see with these eyes. That's what it's about, right? You can't see it with these eyes yet. You can see it here, right? In thought. You can see it in thought, in vision. You can see it in heaven, right? On earth as it is in heaven, right? Bring it down, right? So, like, it's like recognizing that as you step out to do something new, you hear the call, you're like, this is what needs to happen. That it's natural to have a response, a reaction, to be like, well, how will that financially work? Is now the right time? What would I do? How would that pan out? Da, 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 da. Right? Going into so many questions. And then it's like, do we trust, right? Is is it a yes, right? First comes like the decision of like, this is a yes. The figuring out will get figured out. Yeah. So, that is the part. So first is like dealing with your own stuff, and then that's what's laid on top of that is other people's stuff. You know, and that share earlier, right? For those of you that are listening to this live in the roundtable, right, is that other people's opinions. Oh, well, surely, like, you shouldn't do it this way. Or surely I wouldn't do, if I was you, I wouldn't do it this way, right? Like other people wanting to protect you, sometimes because they are real, like well-meaning loved ones, they just want to like ensure that you don't fall, like a parent doesn't want their child to fall down, right? But how is a child going to learn to walk if you don't let them try and stumble and then get up and try again? Yeah. And so, it's like, naturally some people that may be very close to you, partners, loved ones, mums, dads, friends, whoever maybe around you, like, don't do it, I wouldn't do that yet, this is risky, what about savings, what about you don't know enough, what about this, right? XYZ, right? So many things they might want to say on it. Yeah. However, you've got to be strong in yourself to recognize this is what I know God is sharing with me right now. This is the what I energetically feel in my body. It's a yes. And I humanly feel the delay tactics rising up. But I'm a human, so I'm going to recognize that and I'm going to put them aside, right? I also can visibly see everybody else's stuff coming up, right? Yeah. And I'm going to put those aside, right? The move to Ghana has required more calm CEO of me than ever before, right? Um, which is beautiful because out of it, the calm CEO was birthed, right? Which is a movement there that I'm leading on, and I'm so excited to do that. Um, but in terms of like other people's opinions, right? Other people's fears, worries. Well, what would happen? What would happen? What happens with work? What happens with the business? What happens with your house? What happens to the children? What happens with the like several questions. You could imagine like different thoughts or questions coming up, right? But actually, when you are anchored more in yourself, of your self and your connection with God, those questions don't phase you as much as they might once have, right? In the beginning of my business, I was not as strong in my faith as I am today. And so other people's questions would throw me off. They'll be like, so how exactly is this business thing going to work then? And I'd be like, I don't know. Right? And then I'd start doubting myself, right? Or like, so how do you do that then? How do you just work with people online, right? Or whatever it might be. And I'd be like, will you just do that? But there would be hesitance within me because I'm now questioning myself. Have I heard right? Can I do it right? Can I do this? Because I'm bringing all of this stuff and everybody else's stuff along with the journey, right? And the sooner you get into your journey where you can just release that stuff, and that's what we do in the Business Academy, right? That's the stuff that makes people wander around forever, right? And I sent an email, I can't remember when, but I was talking about just in the Bible story where they get lost in the wilderness, a journey that should take them like a week to 10 days, took them like forever and ever, right? It took a long time. And why? Because of unbelief, right? Why? Because of all of these things, right? So think about like, where is like your internal Egypt? Where is there like um, this like, I don't believe, or am I good enough? Or, what if it doesn't work out, or what if, or da da da, and you're stuck in loops, and so that you can't actually, you're being more faithful to the loops, to the fear, to all of that is not God's voice, than to actually being obedient to what is being called of you. So, how much percentage of time do you spend on what you are being asked to do, right? Being purpose driven, being mission led, executing that versus the fear, versus the worry, versus the doubt, versus the unbelief, versus the all of the other questions that you may layer on, right? And the funny thing is that fear dresses itself up as wisdom. You actually think you're being sensible. You actually think you're being like doing the right thing. You're like think you're being wise, right? But it's keeping you in delay. So these are things that, as I journey through this stretchy season of relocating country, right, with two small children, yeah, I'm anchored in to God's word. I'm anchored in to the vision. I'm anchored into all of this. I only revealed to my clients yesterday, right? Because as I anchor in and I'm in that space, I need to anchor in. And sometimes there's a season where other people's opinions, right? Or other people's feedback, you need to just limit it, right? And my clients are amazing, yeah, right? And they were all just like, right, on our call yesterday, it was cool. And that's not what I'm saying. But even that, even the yay, maybe I'm not ready for it. I'm in the vision, I'm in the word, I'm in the laying down the questions, the thoughts, the like, that's not of God, right? We're doing it. That's not of God, right? We're doing it, right? Like I'm in that space. And so it's important to recognize like what season you are in terms of how you deal with and operate and around people, around others, around your vision and on all of those things, you know? And some of you may have noticed the 21-day one-to-one experience I'm currently offering was born out of this. When I really look at people executing their God-given mission, doing the thing is the easy part, right? Doing the thing is the easy part. When I say like the doing the business is the easy part, easy when you know how. Yes, 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 I get it, right? Yeah. But it's all the things that come up around it that delay. What should I charge? What should I write? Am I using the right words? Who's the right words? I don't even know tech. How do I set up a system? What's my website? What's a funnel? All of this stuff, right? Keeps people confused. Plus, then, am I qualified enough? Who am I to do this? What if I fail? What if I fall? This is why the business academy cannot exist and could not exist without me having my hat on as a psychologist and be able to support people with their identity, with able to support people with their mindset, being able to support people to just strike out and do the thing, right? And get stronger in themselves. That's why I have the Business Academy. It's not just about strategy, it's about identity, growth, identity, recalibration, identity, reclaiming, right? There's a transformation that's got to happen on the inside to see what's happening on the outside. Yeah. And so that's what happens. But that's the process over time. And as they're doing that, they've also got to do the thing. And that's where the 21-day thing was like, do you know what? There's some people out there, they've been in the wilderness for a long, 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 long time. And they want to do the thing. And so why don't I do the thing for 21 days? You still got to do the thing, right? You still got to walk the mission. But we can do that over a year. We just take out the itty bitty parts, right? And we'll get to it, you know. But coming back to this whole Ghana move, right? Is there is like things that I would say to really think about when you are in movement season. What if your movement season is fear? And what is the voice of the Lord? What is the fear and what is the voice of the Lord? Whose voice is it? What is the voice of other people? Yeah, I love that. Whose report will you believe? Right? Whose report will you believe? Every day as a human being, you're going to be faced by your own internal narratives that your flesh wants to kind of hook onto of whatever it might be, right? Those patterns. Yeah, a great thing that I tell people, to lean into is a statement of like, previously I would, right? Previously I would lean into perfectionism, but now I'll listen to the voice of the Lord. And while I see it creeping up, let me place it aside and move along and forward and execute. Yeah. So you detach your identity, right? You detach your identity in a way that allows you to press forward each and every day. And that's a daily thing that happens, right? It's placing aside fear, it's placing aside internal voices or external voices, right? That may cause the delay because no delay is needed, you know? And taking every thought captive, your own and others, right? It certainly was that question when it was like, oh my God, this is a yes. And we was like, okay, how many years do we need to wait? That was our response. How many years do we need to wait? Like, when are we gonna do this? When the children are 10, when they're like the youngest is 5. I was like, well, why are we waiting? Why are we waiting? I don't know. Because why are we waiting? Could we do it sooner? Okay, well, maybe next year. So why not this year? Um, the children at school, but they break up for summer and they're gonna finish, and then it's summer holidays. Could this not just be divine timing? I was like, okay, it could, right? There's a process. Yeah. Um, it's recognizing that you can create your own delay. There doesn't need to be a delay. I remember is exactly tomorrow isn't promised, do it now. I remember I was talking to a client once and and she was like, I'm just getting like everything ready in my business. And she was in real estate. And she was like, just getting everything ready in my business. And, I'm going to sign up some clients in like about 4 months. I was like, 4 months? She was like, yeah, yeah, in 4 months, I'm going to like start signing the clients up. And I was like, well, maybe I've missed something, but what's happening between now and 4 months that stops your phone ringing and somebody like needing help selling their house? Um, um, well, my phone could ring today technically, but I was thinking that I like would put together this marketing launch and this plan, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, and you can do the work and stuff, but could your phone actually ring today and somebody need your help and you could help them and you could sign an agreement and get paid? Well, technically, yeah. Well, technically, yeah, right? Like, what is the delay? You know what I mean? Other than the mind telling you that it needs to be 4 months away. How about we just close the gap, hey? How about we just close the gap, right? So, where is there a gap? Naturally, your mind is going to want to create a gap. Is this the right time? Gap. Where would I find the money? Like, I didn't prepare for that. I didn't create a savings account that said move to Ghana. Trust me, there wasn't no account that said move to Ghana. There wasn't surely no account back in 10 years ago that said start a business. It was like on paper, you ain't got no business starting no business over here, right? So like, like there is like, but you got to close the gap. You got to assess and take every thought captive and let it aside and really allow yourself to press in. The delay is not God's delay, right? Sometimes God creates a delay, right? But a lot of the times it's your own delay. And sometimes people are making their own delay and saying it's God's delay. And God's over here saying, hey, like, why don't we just do the thing, right? And let's get going. And you're just like circling around the mountain a few times and saying, oh, but wait, hold on a minute. Let me just catch catch up over here and do it my way until I get fed up enough. And now I'm on my knees and saying, God, help me, right? Speak to me louder. And he might be saying, I've already said the thing. Are you ready to do it? Right? I've already said the thing. That's why you can't hear me, because I'm giving you the assignment. I've told you the thing that is your purpose. You just made everything else into it. So think about the fear. Think about faith, right? Faith is what you cannot see. However, it exists. You can see it up here. You might not see it here. You can see it here, right? You can see it in the spiritual realm. You can see it out here, right? You're just waiting for life to catch up with it down here. Okay. So it's really, really important to recognize that faith is moving because you can see it up here. Faith is not moving because you can see it here. Otherwise, it wouldn't be faith, right? What is the currency of heaven? Faith, right? Move in faith. As you move in faith, things will be added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, everything else will be added unto you. Move in faith, right? Move. Move, though, is the key word here. Yeah. Flow, right? You will start, as you move in obedience, you will start to see shifts, right? You will start to feel it. You will also start to feel stretched because you are moving as a human in faith. So you're going to feel stretched, which is why every day you got to do the work to say, I'm moving in faith. I can see God. I can see it up here, right? I can see it up here. People might think you're mad. They're like, what are you doing? I can see it up here. What do you mean you can see it up here? Well, I can see it here. Well, I can see it up here, right? You know, it's a faith walk. You've all had, I want to make a broad assumption that anyone listening to this has had a faith walk, some level of faith walk. Children have so much faith in them, you know, and joy and just like, yeah, it's going to get done. How? Don't know, it's going to get done, right? Like, yeah. So, how do you bring that back as we go through life, right? We get disconnected from faith, many of us, and we want to reactivate that. Okay. So that's what I wanted to share today about the move to Ghana. We are moving to Ghana. We are, I don't know all the hows. I do know it's the same-ish time zone as the UK, so not much will change in that aspect. And for terms of business, I do know where we're going to live. Thank God. I do know how we're going to educate our children. Thank God, right? And everything else will continue revealing itself as and when it needs to be revealed. And I'm walking in faith. And it is stretchy. It is stretchy. It's stretchy to say goodbye to parents on the playground and say, we're going to Ghana. And I'm there. It's stretchy to receive a message from a mom saying, I've just been going through my child's school book. And they were saying, they wrote a message saying to your son or to the teacher as their homework of like, I felt shy when I first started school and I didn't need to because my son helps him feel included. And she sent me that. And I'm like at the dinner table going, my partner's like, what's happened? I'm like, oh my gosh, have you seen this? Right? You know, so there's stretchiness in it. It's okay to cry. It doesn't mean you're crumbling. It's okay to fear. It doesn't mean you're not moving forward, right? But you just move accordingly and set yourself up with the right support and systems. You know, that's what I would say.